crafty friends, it's Andrea from Prairie Sky Paper Crafts, your independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Manitoba. We are going to be using a color today that I don't use a whole ton. I like to look up those national holidays every once in a while, and I found out that today, July 21st, is actually Mango Day. So I'm using Mango Melody. We're going to be using the Glad We're Friends stamp set, as well as the Trees for Sale, which is from the mini catalog. This one is from the annual catalog. And we're doing a bit of a fancy fold today too. So I'm also, not only am I using a color that I don't use a whole ton of, I'm also using an orientation of my card that I don't use a lot. Usually my cards are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 vertical, but for this fold, we're going to want to do a horizontal card. I've already got it cut and scored. So what I did was I scored along the 5 1/2 mark, and then I placed it in my paper trimmer in the cutting guard on the angle, and then I just went corner to corner to get this piece, and then I cut a triangle out of the mango for our bottom, and we're going to do some stamping on the top. We're actually going to get started with that. Trees for Sale. So this is a photopolymer stamp set. I'm just going to grab the paw prints here and a stamp block. Now, one of my things that I like to do to protect my stamp from staining is to dab it in Versamark before I stamp. So I'm going to use the brush end of my marker, and I'm going to color our stamp set here. And then, actually, I think I'm going to do this guy in black. And then we'll do black or gray? Black. Then we'll do the other piece. I think it'll show up a little bit better in the mango. So I'm just going to ink up our footprints and just kind of have them go randomly across the card. There's not really going to be any rhyme or reason to this. I do have ink on my fingers though, so I'm making a few inky little spots as I go. And we'll just have it. All right, call that done. And then I'm going to grab the dots. Close our black because we're done with that for the moment. Versamark. Now you can use any color that you want to. I'm using mango because I want it to coordinate with my stamp set. Or not my stamp set, my ink color. And then we're just going to, it does take a little bit longer sometimes to color your stamps with a marker than it does with your hands or with a stamp set. Oh my gosh, I have no words today. I kind of feel like I'm losing my mind a little bit at the moment. This is why you should not craft before caffeine. It's all good. So we're just doing this to add a little bit of interest. Just really quick little flick. I like to use the side of my brush end again because it does give you that little bit of extra coverage, and you also don't risk ruining the end of your brush. I think we'll use some spots up there and maybe one little strip there. Oh, that wasn't very dark. There, I'm going to call that done. Now we're going to get on to the fun part. I'm going to grab a bigger block here. There it is. I'm going to use the dog, I think. And then the thing I like about this fold is that it allows you to, I'm going to move this off to the side and bring in another piece of white. The fun thing about this fold is that it allows you to lay out your card differently. And it also gives you kind of a 3D element as well. Okay, so we're going to stamp our dog. Get back into the case. And I think our dog's going to be brown and white today. Let's see. Soft suede, that might be too dark. Sahara sand, maybe, we'll see. Too many choices. You know what? I think we'll do Sahara sand. Oh. And I need a pink for his tongue. And for his ear. All right, set that there and hope you don't get a craft-a-lanch. Petal pink. That should be soft enough. Perfect. Just going to do a little bit of pink in his ear. I'm not sure why I decided that this dog was going to be a boy, but it is. Now these aren't the same as blends. With the Stampin' Blends, you can easily and quickly layer the colors, and they are intended to blend. Now, with the Stampin' Write markers, which is what I'm using now, they don't blend the same way, and if you layer colors too frequently, it kind of looks a little bit muddy. I think he's going to have white paws. We're just doing quick little flicks here. There are two ends to the Stampin' Write markers. One is a brush end, which is the one that I'm using. And the other is a writing end. It's a really fine tip, as you can see. It's not something that I use for coloring. Typically, when I'm using my blends, I will use the finer tip, just because it gives me a little bit more control. But the tip on the brush with the marker is really, it's quite sturdy actually, but you still want to use gentle pressure. I've actually accidentally destroyed one of my nibs by coloring. Actually, that wasn't this, it was a blend. I colored the brush end onto a oh my gosh, a rhinestone, and the texture of the rhinestone, because I wasn't careful, compromised my brush. So you do want light pressure and you want to go gently. So I'm going to call this guy done. Now we're going to move on to our fan. I'm using mango because that's our color of the day. And it'll pull in nicely with our card. In August, I am doing a Stash Bash summer camp. I'm so excited. It's all online. It's a 5-day camp, and every day you will get an email with a video for an exclusive project, as well as a couple of other little surprises that I've got planned. So I can't wait. I'm so excited. We're going to be doing, there's a theme for each day. There's going to be all kinds of fun stuff. I've got, let's see, there's a Christmas day. We're going to be doing album. So much goodness. Pop over to Actually, I'm going to be putting it on my website today, andreaestenson.ca, and then you'll find it under classes. I'll be doing that shortly, so it should be there by the time you're able to take a peek. And as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out at all. I'm going to do a little bit of fussy cutting here. Nothing too fancy. I'm just going to kind of follow the lines a little. I'm not being particularly fussy about my fussy cutting today. I just kind of want to have a different shape other than just a square. All right, that's going to be easier than manhandling this entire... Oh, I forgot to color the streamers. No, it's not too bad here today. It was a scorcher a few days ago. I know everybody's been having heat waves, and it's just been kind of crazy. I'm going to cut this a little closer. Now, one of the hints that I have for you with fussy cutting is to move your paper. As you can see, I'm not staying in one place with mine. Move the paper, not the scissors, because it does give you just a little bit, whoops, more control over what you're doing. Okay, so there's our dog. I think if I do those in mango, it might be a little much. So let's do, what color is this? Coastal Cabana, that'll work. We'll do our ribbons in Coastal Cabana. It's a nice summery color. And it actually goes quite well with mango as well. When you store your markers, you want to make sure that they are horizontal as well so that the ink doesn't pool in either one of the ends. I've got mine in a plastic container I got from the dollar store. It works really, really well. Okay, now we're going to start to assemble our card. Now, because our card is going to open up and we're going to have it pop up this way, you need something to kind of hold it in place so that it doesn't fall flat, or if it's really humid, sometimes the card gets a little bit softer and not quite as sturdy. So we're going to put this now. I did cut this piece a little bit smaller, so we're going to have a tiny little bit of white showing. Now this guy needs something behind him. What am I going to put behind him? Choices. Not sure yet. So let's stamp our sentiment. That'll help us figure out our placement. This is a nice big sentiment. I'm going with the birthday. So growing older is mandatory. Growing up is optional. I'm going to do that in Memento as well. And I'm going to do that right at the bottom of our card here. Stick this back in our case. Now, for the element to make your card stand up, you can use pretty much anything that you want. I'm going to be using a rhinestone basic jewel, but you can cut out, if you're using a different stamp set, you can cut something out that will help or that matches your card. Actually, that's how we're going to do this guy. But I'm just going to grab a rhinestone, grab my take your pick. You can stamp your image and cut it out, pop it onto a dimensional. You could use a different, oh my gosh, today feels like a Monday, but it's not. So that's just going to prop our card up to make sure that it's exactly where it needs to be. It will make a bit of a bump when you're mailing it. So you might want to put something protective on the inside, maybe a scrap piece of cardstock or something, just to make sure that it doesn't poke through. I've never put anything over top of a card that I've sent out to protect it, and I've never had an issue with the recipient having a problem with it. So we're going to put our dog here, but when you open your card, it's not going to be completely flat. So I'm just going to put adhesive at the bottom so that it doesn't get stuck accidentally. See if I can find a pack of dimensionals quick. Actually going to pop 2 dimensionals onto our dog, and then that'll just give it a little bit of extra lift. Okay, so now when you're placing your card, you want to make sure that your adhesive is going to be on the card. So now we've got this little part sticking up. Our little doggy friend is poking up that way. And then, as always, you can decorate the inside of your card with some cardstock, with some stamps, with a sentiment. And then you've got tons and tons of room to be able to write your message. I am going to add a little bit more bling though, because I think it does need a little bit of something on the top. With your Take Your Pick tool too, when you're finished with it, you do want to make sure that you pop the cap back onto the adhesive, because if you don't, it'll dry out. And nobody wants that. Also in the summertime, because it's really, really hot in my craft room, when I go to advance it, I just push it or twist it until it just starts to come out. And then I back it off so that it doesn't keep coming out. I forgot to one time, and I ended up coming back and I had an entire adhesive snake over top of my desk. It was something. All right, so I like odd numbers. So I've got 5 pieces of bling. We've got our Take Your Pick covered again. So a fairly easy card, just a little bit of cutting, stamping, and 1 extra score line. I would say that a beginner stamper or somebody just starting out should be able to do this quite easily. But again, as always, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always happy to help somebody in their creative journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. I'll see you soon.